Okay, guys, we are back with another episode of Imperialism. We can see some teams starting to grow on the map. Wyoming up here, we've mentioned quite a bit. New Mexico is still getting big. See Vermont up here, Campbell. But yeah, let's get right into this episode. Abilene Christian getting spun first, going to the Northeast. That's going to be up against, I believe, Texas, and Texas is going to easily take this one by 42. Spoiler alert, this is the not last time you will be seeing Texas in this episode. Next up, we have Southeast Louisiana. I actually forgot to record that clip. It's going north to face Alcorn State, and they win in overtime, 77-72. Braves are already taking some land, so that's a nice piece of yellow there for southeastern Louisiana. And then up next, we have Belmont, but Belmont actually does not have land, so we'll just skip them, go back to the wheel. And we will be going to TCU, going southeast. That is going to be up against UT Arlington, who beat SMU, but they're going to get downed by the Horned Frogs by 15. So a lot of action, state of Texas early on, heading up north to the city of Philadelphia. Villanova going southeast, this time against the Penn Quakers, and Villanova pretty easily gets the win by 17 to eliminate Penn. And a nice chunk of blue out there. Miami, Florida up next, but they do not have any land, unfortunately. One of the bigger schools did not have land in this video. But North Alabama, my school, is up next, and I was getting nervous. But luckily, they got a good draw. They play Southern Indiana, and they actually win. The North Alabama Lions actually win. We can finally, I don't even know how that happened. But North Alabama is the champion. But Memphis immediately is going to put an end to it as they're going east. And just after I was saying that UNA was going to win, now they are going to lose 81-80. It's a tough break, and they almost won. I was distraught, but UNA, well, you knew they would have to go out eventually, and Memphis takes that land. And then up next in the wheel, we have Northern Iowa going south. That's to take on Iowa, but Iowa's going to get that 22-point victory. It takes a pretty big piece of land. Northern Iowa had a pretty big piece there. Out to UCLA, but again, UCLA does not have any lands. Over to Duquesne we go. They're going to be facing Pitt, and Pitt is going to win by 10 in overtime. The Dukes had taken some land, I believe, early, and maybe even in the first episode. Pitt takes it. Radford up next, going north. They've already taken land. They're going against West Virginia now, and the Mountaineers are going to take their land. That's a pretty big piece for West Virginia. So now they have the stretching all the way into even Tennessee. Alabama's up next. They're going south. That's going to put them in South Alabama where they can try to take some more land. But shockingly, South Alabama is going to take down Alabama. Once again, I was like, how did this happen? But somehow it is happening. All of the Alabama teams that are near me are being taken down. And now South Alabama controls almost the whole state of Alabama. Vanderbilt now going northwest to try to take on Memphis. And Memphis is going to beat them. So Memphis is expanding to be huge now. Probably one of the biggest powers in the U.S. Louisiana Tech up next, going south to face UL Monroe, who's already taken land, and Monroe's going to win again, 69-56. They take the victory, and Louisiana Tech is now off of the map. A nice little chunk of their state there for Louisiana Monroe. And we'll go back to the wheel to see who's up next. Who will it be? And it's going to be Green Bay, one of the weaker teams in Division I, going east to take on Oakland, but Oakland is going to win by 13, sending the Phoenix home packing. Oklahoma up next, going southeast. That's not going to be a rivalry. They're going to be against North Texas, and they win by 2 against the champion of the NIT, I believe. So Oklahoma now controls into a part of Texas. They're getting close to their rival. Stanford going southwest. They can't really do that, though, so we're going to have to spin the wheel again. And they're going to go southwest again. They can't do that again, so we'll have to spin it for a third time. And this time, well, it was about to land on southwest again. This is the unluckiest wheel spin I've ever seen. Finally, it almost landed on southwest again. It goes south. That's going to be San Jose State. And the San Jose State team is going to win by 12. They take another part of their home state. Tulsa now going northwest, take on Arkansas, and Arkansas beats them pretty handily by 22. A lot of red now in the Midwest. Arkansas starting to stretch that way. Memphis again is trying to expand. They're going southeast to take on the other huge southwest or southeast power in South Alabama. And South Alabama is going to continually, they're going to keep on upsetting teams. And South Alabama is now a super team in the Southwest, possibly one of the biggest in the entire country. And they have a humongous portion of land into parts of even 6 different states. Princeton up next. They don't have any land, so Liberty is going to go south to face Elon. They're up by, and they win by 32, taking out the Phoenix. But now they are being bordered by Duke and North Carolina, which is probably not good for them. Maine is up next. They're going to face Merrimack because that's the only team they can face, and Maine is going to win by 8 over the Northeast Conference champions of this year, and Merrimack goes down. So who will it be next? It's going to be Portland going north. That's going to put them against Gonzaga, though, in a very unfavorable matchup, and Gonzaga does win by a very large margin. So there goes Portland, and up next we have Providence going to the northeast. Going back to that region again, they're going to take Brown on, and they win that by 15. A lot of gray over there in that area now. So Providence, it's not a big piece, but it's a piece. Duke going northeast. We finally get the matchup that everyone's been waiting for. It's against UNC, and Duke wins by 17. A huge victory for the Blue Devils. And they control now another piece of North Carolina. FIU up next, going against FGCU, who's already beaten Florida Atlantic. And FGCU looking very impressive in their first 2 games. Topples beat FIU by 30. And FGCU now controls the whole southern tip of Florida. Mount St. Mary's up next, going south. That will be against George Mason, who I know went pretty far, and I believe it might have been HaroldGames episodes. But they're not going to get past their first game here as Mount St. Mary's defeats them by 8. That is going to be another victory for Mount St. Mary's. And Texas, here we go. I told you, Texas is going to be up again. They're going west. This time to face, it looks like it's just going to scratch the tip of Texas State. It does. They win by 4. Texas gets that. And they defeat Texas State to take them off of the map. Also, I hope my audio issues are getting corrected. Last episode, it was very behind. Now Rhode Island going north to take on Providence. Providence wins that by 11, eliminating the Rams. Louisiana going northwest against LSU and SEC team. Can they win? Louisiana is a tournament team. Oh, excuse me. I actually went the wrong way. That was northeast. They're going to take on McNeese State, who they do easily beat. So Louisiana takes some more land in their homestead and even expands partly into Texas. St. Thomas up next, one of the new D1 schools. They're going northwest against Oakland, who has already taken Green Bay in this episode. We'll see if who will win this game. And St. Thomas wins it. They now have a huge portion. They have almost all of Michigan. Well, they have the northern half of Michigan, and they have a bunch of Minnesota, too. Prairie View up next, going west, and that's going to be against Texas. So Texas playing again. They win by 6 to expand their land even farther. Texas now has a very big piece of land in their home state. Indiana going north. This time it'll be against IUPUI. They get saved from Purdue, and they do win that. IUPUI had 2 wins back-to-back, but their run finally comes to an end at the hands of the Hoosiers. Kansas City up next, going southwest, and that means they're going to have to play Kansas, which is not going to turn out well for them as they lose by 11. And there go the Roos. Then we have High Point on the map next. They're going southwest to take on Charlotte. Bigger conference school, but they actually win this game by 14 over the 49ers. Take another piece of land from there. And Presbyterian, much the same area, going east. They'll have to face, it looks like just barely going to scratch the surface of Clemson. And Clemson wins in overtime. They almost lost to Presbyterian, but the Tigers do get the victory. Indiana State up next, going southwest. They are not going to have to face Indiana. They're going to have to face Eastern Illinois, and they win that one by 12 to eliminate, again, one of the worst teams in D1. Sam Houston up next. They've already defeated Houston. Who will they go up against this time? It's Baylor. Surely they'll fall here, right? No, they will not. They beat Baylor by 31 points to knock off the Bears, and now Sam Houston. We saw this in Natty Kash's videos. Or if you've been watching that series, Sam Houston is really starting to turn into a dominant force. BYU now going west to take on the behemoth that is New Mexico. And New Mexico wins it by 2 to barely keep all of their land. Now BYU falls victim to the Lobos, as quite a few other teams have. And New Mexico continues to stretch their land. Yale up next, going north. They're going to face Hartford. And again, one of the worst D1 teams. They win by 26 in a very easy victory for Yale. Detroit Mercy, Antoine Davis' school, going south now to face Toledo, who has been very good. And Toledo wins this by 3, closer than expected, but the Titans are off the map now. Back to the wheel we go. This time it is going to be, and also showing Toledo does have quite a bit of land here. Quinnipiac on the wheel going west. I hope I did not butcher that. They're facing Yale, who just played, and Yale wins again. So now we have Yale taking all of their land. Chicago State up next, going southeast. That's going to be against Notre Dame in a roundabout way. Notre Dame does win 78-64, though, and they expand into the city of Chicago. UNLV up next, going to the northeast, try to take on New Mexico. Nobody's managed to beat them yet. Will they be the first to do it? And no, they will not. New Mexico wins by 15, and there go the Rebels. Mercer down to go southeast. That's going to put them against Georgia Southern, and Mercer is going to win, taking out the Eagles. Now they control part of South Carolina as well. Mercer expanding nicely. Marquette up next, going west. That's going to put them against St. Thomas, who's taken some land in this episode, but now Marquette is going to beat them pretty soundly, 103-75, to take all of that land. Not Tarleton State. St. Thomas now is gone, and Marquette controls quite a bit of the land in Michigan and Minnesota. Xavier going west, but they can't really go west, so we're going to have to spin that again. And they're going to go northeast to face Ohio State. And actually, I think they could go west. I accidentally didn't mean to record that. 74-67, though they win. Ohio State is now off the map. There go the Buckeyes. Xavier, they have done really good in the other series that I've seen. They're trying to expand in this series as well. Next up, University of Illinois Chicago going east. They had to play Notre Dame. Notre Dame trying to expand into more of Chicago, and they are going to 71-70. Notre Dame wins. So that's the map. After episode number 5, we can see Wyoming getting big. Gonzaga, New Mexico is still very big here. San Diego State has a bit of land. Texas is getting big. Mercer, obviously Campbell, and Marquette, North Dakota State. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check the playlist, and I will see you later.